In a moment of surreal disbelief, King Grey finds himself back in his old body, standing in a familiar setting that he thought was only a dream. Leaving his room in the castle, he encounters a young maid who greets him with respect, but he pays her no mind as he proceeds to the courtyard where trainees are lined up, swords at the ready. There he meets Marlorn, the head of the council, who governs the country and handles its problems in a world of duels and kings. Marlorn admires the protagonist's works, but confesses envy for the fame that kings receive upon victories. Without hesitation, King Grey resigns by slamming his coveted badge on Marlorn's desk. Feeling disillusioned with his life as a king, he reflects on the emptiness of fame and glory, longing to return to Ashbur to reunite with his lost loved ones. All the years he spent striving to be the strongest felt empty, and now he yearned for what truly mattered: family and memories. In the midst of his pain and desperation, Arthur wakes up and wonders how he managed to survive. As he glances to his left, he's met with a horrifying sight: the remains of the conjurer he had battled. The conjurer's body was a mangled mess, bones shattered and eyes bloodshot. Struggling to hold back his revulsion, Arthur vomits in response to the gruesome scene and putrid smell. Despite his weakened state, he musters the strength to crawl toward his knapsack. With only his right arm and neck cooperating, he reaches inside and finds the precious dried berries and nuts his mother packed. Tears streaming down his face, he ate the rations and passed out. As the first rays of dawn broke through the mountains, Arthur's eyes fluttered open, rousing him from the chilling cold. Struggling to stand, he relied on his mana to help him up, carefully assessing his body for injuries. With a deep breath, he mustered his strength and decided to confront the mage's lifeless body, retrieving a knife from his own thigh for protection. Looking back at the mountain he fell from, Arthur questioned how he had survived and how much time had passed. Pushing these thoughts aside, he ventured into the woods. Suddenly a voice startled him, causing him to adopt a defensive stance. In the aftermath, a startled Arthur hears a mysterious voice, causing him to take a defensive stance. He cautiously examined the lifeless body nearby, fearing it might rise again. Slowly approaching it with a stick, he checks for signs of life. The voice reassures him that the corpse won't reanimate, followed by a melodic chuckle that exudes a regal yet comforting aura, earning Arthur's cautious trust. Arthur inquires about the identity of the voice and whether it saved him. The voice confirms the latter and promises to reveal its identity when they reach its dwelling. Determined to return home, Arthur realizes he needs the voice's help. Worried about his family's safety, he asks about their well-being and if they reached Tyrus safely. The voice, amused by Arthur's eagerness, playfully remarks on being called a mister, though it understands his intentions and agrees to guide him. Suddenly, Arthur's perspective shifted, granting him a bird's-eye view of the area, pinpointing a location about a day's journey to the east. After the vision returned to normal, the voice advised him to leave promptly, as traveling during daylight would be safer than risking the dangers that lurked in the dark. As Arthur's body slowly recovered, he couldn't help but wonder about the magic that saved him from the fall and the mysterious person who rescued him. Despite his lingering questions, he discovered a stream and cleaned himself thoroughly, getting rid of the filth from his fall. Struggling to maintain his composure, Arthur managed to stammer, "What is that?" The ominous voice of the creature replied, "We finally met, child." Amidst the shocking sight of a horned humanoid monster, Arthur stumbles to his feet, but ends up on the ground again. The monster warns him to close his mouth to avoid bugs flying in, as he will be sent back to his home through a dimensional rift, which will take some time to open. Until then, Arthur must consume special nourishing plants. Arthur courteously nods and gazes at a particular plant, reminiscing about his family. The monster reveals that the plant he was looking at tastes even better, surprising Arthur with its closeness. While eating together, Arthur gains the courage to ask Sylvia some questions. He inquires about their location, why she's alone, where she comes from, how she got wounded, and the reason why she saved him. Sylvia explains that they are in a hidden zone between the Beast's Glades and the forest of Elshire, unknown to others as she keeps intruders away. Arthur is the first to enter this domain. Sylvia reveals that she is alone because her enemies seek something she possesses. Her escape from a fierce battle left her wounded. As for saving Arthur, she's unsure but admits it might be due to his courage or her own loneliness. Before leaving for the night to tend to her wound, Arthur wishes Sylvia good night, noticing the loneliness in her departure. Then, Sylvia remembers that she cannot see where Arthur's family went but reassures him they are safe. Overwhelmed with relief, Arthur thanks her with tears of joy flowing. As the days slip by, Sylvia and Arthur became inseparable, sharing conversations and moments together. Weeks flew past as they cherished each moment spent together. While Sylvia remained tight-lipped about her own life, Arthur gradually unraveled the mystery she embodied. Beneath her intimidating exterior, she proved to be a living testament to the adage, "Don't judge a book by its cover." Her kindness, gentleness, patience, and warmth radiated from within. Arthur couldn't help but liken her to his mother, someone who could be tender yet stern when needed. However, memories of his hatred for bandits resurfaced, and he vowed to hunt them down. Sylvia flicked his forehead, reprimanding him, but also acknowledged that those bandits deserved punishment. Encouraging Arthur not to be consumed by vengeance, she urged him to face life with a smile, learning from misfortunes and embracing the future. The moral lesson from someone seemingly evil struck Arthur deeply. Observing Sylvia's worsening wound, he grew concerned. Curious about Arthur's unusually early mastery of mana, Sylvia offered guidance on how to further develop his skills. She believed he could learn to meditate and harness mana, even while in motion or combat, breaking free from the constraints of linear thinking. Arthur enthusiastically embraced the challenge, but mastering this skill wouldn't be easy. Sylvia explained that, unlike mana beasts, humans usually awaken to their magical abilities much later, making multitasking with mana a rarity. However, Arthur's unique circumstances presented an opportunity for success. With determination in his eyes, he vowed to give it his all. With Sylvia preparing the portal to send Arthur back home, he begins his intense training. It's a skill that demands his utmost dedication. He strives to master the art of fighting while maintaining a steady flow of mana. With determination, Arthur practices tirelessly until success graces his efforts. As he rejoices in his accomplishment, he notices Sylvia's condition. Alarmed, he calls out her name as she lies there, unconsciously vomiting blood. Filled with concern, Arthur cries out her name in distress, "Sylvia." In the aftermath, Sylvia lies unconscious, and Arthur rushes to her side. A pool of blood surrounds her, and Arthur is struck with a sudden realization. He notices Sylvia's wound worsening rapidly. Then he glances at the portal she had created to send him back home. In anguish, Arthur realizes that the portal is the cause of her deteriorating condition. Overwhelmed with emotions, he cries in despair. However, just as all seems lost, Sylvia regains consciousness and reassures Arthur that everything is all right. Confused, Arthur questions how it can be okay when Sylvia is sacrificing herself for him. Sylvia tries to console him, not wanting the remaining time together to be wasted in self-blame. Despite this, Arthur can't help but feel responsible for Sylvia's sacrifice, as she's giving up her true form to help him reunite with his family. Unexpectedly, Sylvia undergoes a transformation, becoming a majestic dragon with radiant golden runes and gleaming white wings. She explains that she must take this form to complete the portal, but now that her disguise is gone, they must be prepared for imminent danger. Arthur is taken aback, realizing that she's a dragon. Sylvia then gives Arthur a rainbow-colored stone and a feather from her wings, both holding special powers, and urges him to conceal the stone's aura. Before they part ways, Sylvia touches Arthur's mana core, activating her golden markings, and promises to open the portal for him. Arthur is hesitant about leaving her, but before he can finish his thoughts, a sudden explosion rocks the cave. The ceiling collapses, but Sylvia protects Arthur with her wing. Suddenly, a mysterious entity appeared before Sylvia, urging her to let go of her stubbornness and surrender something precious. The entity suggests that by doing so, Arthur may be able to heal her wounds. Sylvia, who had been causing trouble, is faced with a significant decision. As the entity speaks, the world around them freezes, leaving only Sylvia and Arthur unaffected. In this strange moment, everything else comes to a standstill, and the colors appear inverted. Sylvia seizes the opportunity to confess something to Arthur, admitting that she deliberately prolonged the transportation spell just to spend more time with him. Although she doesn't ask for forgiveness, Sylvia makes one final, selfish request. She wants Arthur to address her as Grandma just once. Overwhelmed, Arthur implores Sylvia to go with him, but she refuses, gently wiping her cheeks with her claw-like hand, appearing to shed tears. Unexpectedly, Sylvia forcefully pushes Arthur towards a portal, bidding him farewell. As Arthur's tears flow, he witnesses a stunning transformation on Sylvia's face. For a fleeting instant, her smile radiates a human-like beauty that leaves him mesmerized. Hey there guys, before we continue, if you've reached this far, I highly doubt you don't enjoy it, so don't forget to subscribe and like the video. And let's get back to it. In the wake of traversing the dimensional rift, Arthur found himself in a state of strange sensation. Arthur felt emotionally drained as he lay there, lost in sorrow after losing Sylvia forever. Memories of their 4-month journey together flooded his mind. Sylvia had treated him like family, teaching him essential skills and leaving a parting gift, a mysterious recording within his mana core. In her message, Sylvia revealed that Arthur's true potential was yet to be unlocked. Despite his advanced mana core, he was still just a young boy, and his strength wasn't enough. The recording held Sylvia's unique will, shaping his future as a mage. Though Arthur felt a mix of emotions, sorrow, anger, and guilt, Sylvia reminded him of his family and the purpose he must fulfill in this world. She wished him to cherish his childhood innocence and make both his parents and her proud. Surprisingly, Sylvia bid farewell to Arthur, using his name and title from his previous world, King Grey. Arthur grapples with questions about Sylvia's knowledge of his identity. Troubled by questions about how long she knew and how she found out, he understands that focusing solely on revenge won't make this life different from his last. Determined to move forward, he finds himself lost deep within the Elshire forest, surrounded by towering trees and dense fog. Using his mana, Arthur climbs up a tree for a better view. Even with enhanced vision, he can't comprehend how he ended up there. Sylvia mentioned he would arrive near other humans, but the forest seems deserted. As he continues his search, he hears human voices and follows the sound cautiously. To his dismay, he stumbles upon slave traders forcing a young elf girl into a small carriage. She appears to be around 6 or 7 years old with silver hair and pointed ears, characteristic of elves. In a dense forest, Arthur finds himself in a precarious situation with forest hounds and slave traders. Desperate to escape, he knows capturing one of the hounds is his best chance. However, he also has scores to settle with some slave traders who have been causing trouble for him lately. To ensure success, he bides his time and devises a plan. Arthur cleverly observes the slave traders' movements and waits for the perfect moment to strike. He starts by creating a diversion, throwing a rock to stir up the forest hounds. While one of the traders goes to calm the animals, Arthur seizes the opportunity and silently takes out the other one, a lanky and not-so-strong man. Using his mana-infused blade, he dispatches the first target swiftly and quietly. With one trader down, Arthur positions himself behind the carriage, where the other 2 traders are sleeping. While the second trader is distracted by the gruesome scene of his companion being devoured by the hounds, Arthur swiftly eliminates the second trader with a well-aimed knife to the neck. As Arthur schemed to eliminate the remaining 2 slave traders in their sleep, an unexpected cry disrupted his plans. The traders, curious about the noise, emerged from the tent. Amused by their peculiar names, Pinky and Deuce, Arthur concealed himself near the carriage and charged Pinky's knife with mana. Spotting their former comrades devoured by forest hounds, the traders were caught off guard. Seizing the opportunity, Arthur struck one of them swiftly, but the trader retaliated with a fierce sword swing. Arthur skillfully evaded the attack, then lunged forward, inflicting a deep wound on the trader's leg. Howling in pain, the trader retreated to a safe distance. He warned his companion, Danton, about Arthur's abilities as a mage. As Danton approached, his confident grin betrayed his augmented strength. Jumping above Arthur, he prepared to strike, but Arthur managed to dodge the punch and hurled his knife at him. However, Danton skillfully caught the weapon with his free hand, countering Arthur's tactics. Realizing he was at a disadvantage due to Danton's superior reach and sword, Arthur knew he had to act quickly. Danton swiftly closed the distance, throwing back the knife he had caught, and struck Arthur's ankle with his sheathed sword, causing him to stumble. Taking advantage of the situation, Danton effortlessly flipped Arthur upside down. In a world where mana can be condensed like a blade and used as wind magic, Arthur realizes that fire magic might work similarly. With confidence, Danton tries to control Arthur, but Arthur strikes back, using his mana to execute a fire attribute technique, breaking Danton's wrist and gaining freedom. Seizing the opportunity, Arthur swiftly grabs Pinky's knife and fatally stabs Danton in the neck. With Danton out of the picture, the immobile trader meets the same fate as his comrades. The elf girl, aware of the conflict, is found trembling in the locked carriage, poorly clothed and scared. Arthur climbs onto the carriage, encountering her tearful and uncertain gaze. In the aftermath of their encounter, Arthur found himself facing a girl with tearful turquoise eyes, her silent fear evident. He helped her up, assuring her she could go home now. But she was too scared to be alone and pleaded for him not to leave. Arthur, realizing she needed protection from slave traders, decided he would accompany her. However, her fear got worse at the thought of beasts in the forest, and Arthur knew he had to find a solution. Curious about the forest's safety, Arthur asked if elves were secure there. She vehemently shook her head, explaining that only adults were safe from the beasts, while kids risked being preyed upon by hounds or tree golems. Realizing the complexity of the situation, Arthur rubbed his nose, seeking a solution. To find out how far her home was, Arthur inquired about the travel time. Holding onto his shabby shirt, the girl confessed she didn't know. Suppressing another sigh, Arthur couldn't bear to see her on the verge of tears and decided to accompany her back home. In preparation for their uncertain journey, Arthur prepares for the road ahead, salvaging what's necessary while considering the journey back. The idea of taking a carriage is discarded, as it would attract too much attention. Arthur hopes the elves can help him return to the human kingdom. Grateful for the clothes Arthur gives her, the elf introduces herself as Tessia Iralith. As they walk, Arthur learns about Tessia's past and shares his own experiences of being separated from his family. With the sun setting and the fog thickening, they set up camp under a vast tree. As they chat, Arthur provides food and offers Tessia to rest for the night. He chooses to meditate outside to ponder the mysterious will left by Sylvia, but Tessia worries that it may attract dangerous beasts. She convinces Arthur to keep guard inside the tent, where they both settle down. Arthur observes Tessia, acknowledging the hardships she endures, and wishes her a peaceful rest. In the morning, Tessia and Arthur continued their journey through unfamiliar surroundings, the passage of time being their only guide. Tessia struggled initially, but eventually her fear subsided, revealing her uncertainty in interacting with Arthur. Meanwhile, Arthur's impatience to return home and concerns for his family affected his mood. However, what truly tormented him were the unpredictable pains stemming from his mana core. As days passed uneventfully, Arthur experienced intense abdominal pains, making the journey arduous. One night, while in the tent, a searing ache struck him, leaving him trembling in agony. Morning came, and Arthur dealt with some forest hounds and defended himself with a mana-reinforced knife. Throughout their journey, Tessia and Arthur's connection deepened. Tessia grew more accustomed to their surroundings, but her body struggled to keep up with the constant travel. Meanwhile, Arthur tried to hide his growing pains, but the concerned Tessia noticed. As they continued their travels, Tessia asked about Arthur's family, and he warmly welcomed her to call them Art. Their bond strengthened despite their age difference. Eventually, they found themselves surrounded by a dense forest, and Arthur's sense of direction failed them. As they journeyed deeper into the forest, they encountered a strange sight, a thickening fog that disoriented them. However, Tessia's keen perception led them to a mysterious tree. With a peculiar chant, she absorbed the fog into the tree, revealing a massive wooden door on the ground. Curious and intrigued, Tessia pulled Arthur towards the door, reminiscent of the portal that once transported him. In the aftermath, Tess grasped Arthur's hand, pulling him toward the door. As she opened it, memories of the portal Sylvia had forced him through resurfaced. The second time didn't feel any better, but at least he knew what to expect. When they gently landed on their feet, they found themselves in a place Arthur could only describe as pristine, though even that word failed to capture its true magnificence. The entire city's ground was a lush field of soft moss, while narrow stone sidewalks and a main road provided pathways. Branches from the surrounding trees formed a natural canopy, casting a comforting shade, while floating orbs of light illuminated every corner, giving the city a warm, radiant glow. As Arthur stood mesmerized by the surroundings, a shadow suddenly zoomed past him, snapping him back to reality. Still holding Arthur's hand, Tessia was surprised by the unexpected appearance of a group of guards. These elven warriors exuded a dignified air, dressed in coordinated black suits with green trimmings and golden shoulder guards. Each carried a rapier at their waist. What struck Arthur was their complete absence of any discernible aura, suggesting they were either at a power level beyond his perception or possessed extraordinary control over their mana. In any case, they were as impressive as their attire suggested. The guards paid no attention to Arthur and knelt before Tess in unison, proclaiming, "We welcome back the royal princess." Amidst a tense encounter with guards, Arthur recalls a time when he playfully called Tess Your Highness. Suddenly, the arrival of the king and queen interrupts them, relieved to find Tessia safe. Tearful reunions unfold, and Arthur finds himself moved by the touching scene. Virian, an elderly man, also arrives with a softened look for Tessia. After a few minutes, things calm down, but the guards continue to eye Arthur with hostility. The king, while emotional, remains dignified and expresses gratitude to Arthur for bringing his daughter back. There's an implied request for Arthur to accompany them home, to which he agrees. Surprisingly, Tessia clings to his hand, leaving everyone shocked. Uncomfortably amused, Arthur can't find the right words for this unique situation. As the awkward ride to the castle ends, they finally reach their destination, only to find an astonishing sight: a massive tree castle made of petrified white stone. Inside, Arthur was taken aback by the grandeur of the interior, with a circular layout and a stunning chandelier made of glowing orbs. Skipping any personal preparations, they gathered at a rectangular dining table downstairs. Arthur was introduced to the royal family and their guards. Addressing them respectfully, he revealed his name, origins, and the vague tale of his journey, concealing certain truths about his family and encounters with bandits. As he reached the part where he met Tessia, King Alduin became angry, expressing his disdain for humans. Arthur defended himself, explaining that he eliminates slave traders as he is a mage. One guard accused Arthur of lying, but Tessia's grandfather intervened. Arthur maintained that he returned Tessia safely and only wished to go back to his family in Spain, regardless of whether anyone believed his story. And that's it for this part 2. If you enjoyed the recap, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell for a more epic recap. Until then, see you in the next one.